I thought secrets only hurt when they're revealed. But finding out my partner betrayed me wasn't the worst part. The worst was knowing exactly who they did it with. I'm Alex, 34, married to Jamie for 6 years. For the longest time, things felt solid between us. Lately, though, Jamie started staying late at work more often. At first, I didn't think much of it. Then I found a lipstick stain on his shirt. He said it was some colleague's mistake, but I wasn't so sure. I wanted to trust him really, but my gut kept nagging me, telling me something wasn't right. So I started watching more closely, noticing the little things he did differently. Waiting for the moment when whatever was going on would finally come out. I was cleaning our bedroom last Saturday when I found a crumpled receipt under Jamie's side of the bed. It was for a hotel I've never heard of, dated last weekend. That's when my stomach dropped. Jamie said he was at a work retreat then. I double-checked the dates. It matched exactly. I stared at the paper, my hands shaking a bit. It felt like proof hitting me in the face. I tried to push the thought away at first. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he had a reason. But the place wasn't close to any work event he mentioned. The more I thought about it, the less it made sense. My mind raced with all kinds of scenarios, none of them good. I wanted to believe him, but the receipt was there, staring back at me. I couldn't ignore it. I kept the receipt folded in my hand while Jamie was still out. When he finally came home, I was already waiting in the living room. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. I just said, "Jamie, can we talk about last weekend?" He looked tired but nodded. I showed him the receipt without saying much. His face changed instantly. He didn't deny it right away. Instead, he looked away and ran his fingers through his hair. I asked, "What's this hotel? You said you were at the work retreat." He sighed and finally said, "Okay, yeah. I wasn't at the retreat the whole time." That hit me harder than I expected. I kept my voice calm but firm. "Where were you then?" Jamie looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen before, like guilt mixed with fear. He said, "I needed a break. I went to that hotel to clear my head. It was nothing serious." I wanted to believe him, but it felt like a half-truth. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me? Why lie about a retreat?" He shrugged and said, "I didn't want to worry you. Work's been rough, and I just needed time alone." I could see he was trying to explain, but I wasn't sure if it was the whole story. I told him, "We're supposed to be honest with each other. This feels like a breach of trust." He nodded slowly, but didn't say much else. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I wanted to lash out, but I held back. Instead, I asked, "Is there anything else I should know?" Jamie's silence was loud. He looked down at his hands and said, "Not really. I swear." I wanted to believe him, but the doubt was still there. I could feel it creeping in, even if he said otherwise. We sat in silence for a while after that. I didn't know what to say next. I thought maybe it was over, but the quiet felt heavy, like something was still waiting to come out. I forced myself to stay calm, but inside I was a storm. I wanted answers, but I also feared what I'd find if I pushed too hard. That night, I couldn't sleep. The receipt was on the nightstand, a small but powerful reminder. I kept replaying our conversation, trying to catch if he slipped up. I thought I was done asking questions, but the silence that followed said otherwise. We sat down for dinner like any other night, but I had the receipt folded in my hand the whole time. The clink of forks and quiet hum of the restaurant felt off, like the air was too thick. I waited until the waiter left us alone, then slid the paper across the table toward Jamie. My voice stayed steady, even though my chest felt tight. "Care to explain this?" I said. He looked at the receipt, then back at me, trying to act like it was no big deal. His eyes flicked away quickly, like he was searching for an excuse. "Oh, that's nothing," he said, his tone too casual. "Just a work thing. You know how these corporate get-togethers are." I wasn't buying it. I leaned forward a little, the paper still in front of him. "Really?" "Because I called your office. They didn't have anything scheduled that night." His face tightened for a second, then he let out a small, awkward laugh. "I'll tell you later," he mumbled, rubbing the back of his neck. The silence that followed was heavy. I stared down at the receipt again, the numbers and words blurring a little. It was for a restaurant I didn't know, a place that didn't match any of the usual spots he mentioned for work dinners. The date was last Friday, the same night he said he was working late. I wanted to press him more, to demand the truth, but something held me back. Maybe it was the way he avoided eye contact, or the way his jaw clenched whenever I looked at him. Or maybe it was that quiet voice in my head telling me I didn't want to hear what he'd say. I tried to keep my tone even. "Jamie, I'm not stupid. If it was really work, why didn't anyone at your office know about it? He shrugged, but it was a small, tight shrug that said more than words. Look, it was just some last-minute thing. I didn't want to worry you over nothing. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced a breath out. I'm not worried, Jamie. I'm trying to understand what's going on. He shifted in his seat, avoiding my gaze again. I promise, I'll explain everything. Just not right now. The pause after that felt endless. I didn't know if I should push harder or just let it go for now. Part of me wanted to believe him, to think there was some reason I didn't know about. But another part of me was already pulling away, questioning everything I thought I knew. I reached for my glass and took a sip, trying to steady my nerves. Jamie looked at me then, his eyes softer but still guarded. Can we just finish dinner? Please. I nodded slowly, but my mind was racing. The receipt wasn't just a piece of paper anymore. It was a crack in everything. We ate in silence after that, the quiet between us louder than any argument. I watched him, trying to catch a glimpse of the truth behind his forced calm. But all I saw was someone avoiding the story. When dinner ended, I thought maybe this was the moment we could break through. But the way he stood up quickly, the way he didn't meet my eyes as we left, told me it wasn't over. I wanted answers, but all I got was a promise to hear it later. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I couldn't stand the silence anymore. It was like a knot tightening in my chest, and I had to know. I looked right at Jamie, trying to keep my voice steady, even though every part of me was shaking. Who were you with, Jamie? I said, a little louder than I meant. My hands were clenched on the edge of the table. I needed the truth. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he let out this long sigh, like he was carrying something heavy inside. His eyes dropped to the table, and I could see the weight in his shoulders. It was the kind of silence that makes the air thick, the kind where you already know what's coming but still don't want to hear it. Finally, he said, it was with someone I know you won't expect. His voice was low, almost like he was afraid to say it out loud. I blinked, trying to prepare myself, but nothing could have readied me for what came next. It was with your brother, Sam. The words hit me like a truck. My mind just froze for a second. Jamie's eyes were still on the table, but I could feel him waiting for me to say something. I couldn't. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. My brother. Sam. How? Why? I stared at Jamie, trying to make sense of it, but my brain was running in circles. My own brother. The person I grew up with, the one I trusted the most, had been there with Jamie. I wanted to ask how, but the question felt stupid. It felt like it was breaking every rule I'd ever had about family and loyalty. Jamie finally looked up, and his eyes were filled with something I couldn't read. I didn't want to tell you. I thought it would destroy everything. His voice was tight, like he was holding back more than just words. I swallowed hard. I wanted to scream at him, to demand why he'd keep something like this from me, but I couldn't find the energy. Instead, I just sat there, feeling like the ground had been pulled out from under me. Why? I managed to say. Why my brother? Jamie rubbed his face with his hand, like he was trying to wipe away the memory. It wasn't planned. It just happened. We were both drunk, and it got out of control. I didn't want to hurt you. I shook my head slowly, the shock starting to mix with something else, a quiet ache, like a slow burn beneath my skin. I thought I knew my brother. I thought I knew Jamie. But now, everything felt different. Fragile. Broken in a way I wasn't sure could be fixed. I looked down at my hands, feeling the rough palms against the smooth wood of the table. The silence stretched between us again, but this time it was heavier. I wanted to ask more, to understand how this had even come to be, but the words caught in my throat. Jamie reached out, but I pulled back without thinking. The look in his eyes flickered with pain, but I couldn't let him close. Not yet. Not after this. I whispered, how long? Just that one time, he said quickly. I swear it didn't mean anything. But the damage was done. The lie, the secret, the betrayal. It was all tangled up in that one moment. And now, it wasn't just about Jamie and me. It was about my brother too. The person I was supposed to be able to count on no matter what. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hold on to the idea that it was a mistake, something we could get past. But there was a crack in everything, and I wasn't sure if it could ever be sealed again. I looked up at Jamie, searching his face for something. Remorse, hope, anything. Instead, I just saw the weight of what we'd done. And maybe, for the first time, I saw how much this was going to change us all. I thought it was over. But the silence that followed said otherwise. I didn't even think before I grabbed my phone and stormed out of our bedroom. The door slammed behind me, and I could still hear the muffled sound of her voice calling my name, but I ignored it. My hands shook as I unlocked my phone. I knew exactly who I needed to talk to. I dialed Sam's number with a tight grip. The line clicked, and then his voice came through, quiet, guarded. "Hey, Alex." That voice was calm, but there was something else. Something I couldn't place at first, but it sent a cold rush through me. I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. "Why, Sam?" My voice cracked a little. "How could you do this?" There was a long pause. Then he started to speak, but the words came out uneven, like he was trying to catch them before they escaped. "Alex, it just happened." I clenched the phone tighter, nails digging into my palm. "Just happened? You think that's an excuse? You don't even have a reason." My voice was louder now, anger spilling over the edge I'd been holding back. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that," he said, almost whispering. "It was a mistake." I laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was hollow and sharp. "A mistake? You don't get to decide what's a mistake when it hurts someone else." The silence stretched between us, thick and fragile. I could hear breathing on his end. I didn't want to hear anything else. I pressed the end call button before I said something I'd regret. My head spun, thoughts crashing over each other. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady myself. I needed someone else. I needed to hear a voice that wouldn't make me feel worse. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through my contacts until I found Lucy's name. She was the only one who knew everything, before things got tangled and messy with Sam. I pressed call. Her voice came through, warm and familiar. "Alex? What's going on?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Lucy, I just found out something. Something bad." She was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Tell me." I wanted to say everything at once. The shock, the betrayal, the confusion. But the words felt stuck. Instead, I took a shaky breath. "Sam, he's been lying." There was a pause on her end, then a steady, calm voice. "Okay, what do you want to do?" I looked around the quiet street outside, the night pressing in on me. "I don't know. I needed to hear you say that I'm not crazy for feeling this way." Lucy didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, "You're not crazy. You're allowed to feel whatever you need to. Don't let him make you doubt yourself." Her words were simple, but they settled something inside me. Not all the way, but a little. I felt a flicker of strength amid the chaos. Maybe I wasn't alone in this. I glanced back toward the front door of our home, but I didn't want to go back in yet. Not until I figured out what this all meant. What I meant. I wanted to say more, but the silence between us said enough for now. Lucy's voice was the only thing steady in the spinning world around me. I wasn't ready to face what came next, but at least I wasn't alone. I ended the call and slid down against the wall, phone still in my hand. The night was cold, but I didn't move to get up. I thought it was over. But the silence that followed said otherwise. Lucy was already waiting inside the cafe when I arrived. She sat in the corner, hands wrapped around a mug, eyes fixed on the steam rising from her drink. Her face looked tight, like she'd been holding something in for a long time. When I sat down, she didn't smile or greet me like usual, just nodded slowly. I started telling her what I'd found out earlier that day, about the messages, the hidden meetings. I could see her shrinking a little with every word. Her eyes darted away, then back, like she was trying to measure how much to say. When I finished, there was a long silence. I thought she might say something to make it better, but instead her lips pressed together, and finally, she said, "Alex, there's more." Her voice was low, almost a whisper. I leaned in, waiting. "They bought a place together," she said. "I found out months ago." My heart hit my ribs. How did you know?" I asked. Lucy swallowed hard. "I saw them at the realtor's office. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I was there for a friend, and I saw them signing papers. I didn't know how to tell you. I kept hoping I was wrong." She looked at me, eyes wide and wet. "I thought maybe you'd figure it out on your own." I felt like I'd been punched. Not just because of what she told me, but because she'd known for so long and kept it from me. Her silence had been a weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. I wanted to be angry at her. I wanted to shout that this was the kind of thing you don't hide from someone you care about. But all I could do was sit there, stunned. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked quietly. Lucy's hands trembled a little. "I was scared. Scared of what it would do to you. To us. I thought if I said something, it would break everything. I kept hoping they'd change their minds, or that it was just a phase." She looked down, biting her lip. "I was wrong." I nodded slowly, trying to keep control. "So, they've been planning this behind my back for months?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "Yes. And I'm sorry." Her apology didn't fix anything. It just made the silence heavier. I didn't know what I was more upset about, the betrayal itself or how deeply it had been hidden from me. The fact that Lucy had carried this secret, watching me struggle without a word. We didn't say much after that. The noise of the cafe felt distant, like it was happening somewhere else. I stared out the window, trying to imagine what their new place looked like. It was supposed to be a future they were building, together, without me. Lucy reached out, but I pulled back. She looked hurt, but I couldn't let her in right now. Not until I figured out how to deal with this. I wanted answers, but mostly, I wanted to stop feeling like everything I thought I knew was a lie. I thought it was bad before. But now, knowing how deep this went, it felt like the ground beneath me was cracking wide open. Lucy looked at me with those guilty eyes, and I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about trust shattered in ways I hadn't even imagined. I wanted to ask her more, to understand why, how, when it all started. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I sat there, the weight of everything pressing down, and I knew things weren't going back to how they were. Not for a long time, if ever. The silence between us said more than either of us could say out loud. And in that quiet, I realized this was only the beginning. I got home late that night. The house was quiet in a way that felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. I didn't even turn on the lights. I just went straight to the bedroom and started packing a bag. Clothes, toiletries, a few things that felt like they belonged to me and not to us. I kept folding and stacking, but my hands were shaking, so I had to slow down a few times. I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. My mind was somewhere else, like distant and close at the same time. I knew I was crossing a line I never thought I would. But I also knew I couldn't keep pretending. Not after everything. I stuffed my phone into the bag last. Then I sat down at the kitchen table with the dim light from the street lamp outside coming through the window. I pulled out my laptop and started searching for lawyers. It felt surreal, like I was planning a trip to a place I never wanted to visit. Each name on the screen felt like a step farther from what we had been. I finally found one with good reviews for separation cases. I made the call, trying to keep my voice steady. The woman on the other end was calm, professional. She asked me a few questions, took some details, and said she could meet me first thing tomorrow. After hanging up, I still sat there, staring at the screen. Then I started writing. Not a letter, not a speech, just a plan. What I wanted to say, how I wanted to say it. I wrote down the timeline I thought would make sense. The things I needed to be clear about. How to divide the stuff, the bills, the lease. I tried to be practical because the whole situation felt like it was spinning out if I didn't keep hold of something solid. I kept thinking about Jamie. About the mornings we used to share coffee at this very table. About the laughter that used to fill these rooms. I tried to imagine how they would react when I told them it was over. If they would cry, yell, or just go silent like me. I didn't know what I wanted from them anymore. Maybe nothing. Maybe just some kind of closure. I closed the laptop and looked around the kitchen. Everything was the same, but nothing felt the same. The silence was thick. I thought about going to bed, but I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing, and my hands kept trembling. I tried to breathe, slow down, but the thoughts kept flooding in. I realized then that I was saying goodbye, not just to Jamie, but to the life I thought we had. The plans, the dreams, the future I had imagined. It was like a slow unraveling, and I was holding the final thread. It was terrifying and, at the same time, quietly relieving. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the world was still moving, people living their lives. Inside, I was about to change mine forever. I didn't know if I was ready to face Jamie again, to say those words out loud. But I knew I had to. It was time. I felt a strange calm settle in me. Not happiness. Not peace. Just a quiet acceptance. Like I was ready to close this chapter, even if I didn't know what the next one would hold. I thought it was over. But the silence that followed said otherwise. I stood there in front of Jamie, the suitcase heavy in my hand. The weight wasn't just from the clothes inside. It was the weight of everything we'd been through, everything that had broken between us. I looked at him, trying to see the person I once knew, but all I saw was the wreckage left behind. The silence stretched between us, thick and unbearable. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice low but steady. "I can't do this anymore. You destroyed everything." I didn't shout. I didn't plead. I just said the words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times. He didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me like he was trying to find a way to fix something that felt beyond repair. Then he finally spoke, almost like he was surprised by his own words. I never meant for any of this to happen. His voice was small, broken, the kind of voice that you don't expect from someone who's caused so much damage. I saw the defeat in his eyes, the kind of defeat that comes when you realize you've gone too far. But it was too late. I couldn't take it back. I couldn't undo the nights of silence, the fights, the lies, the way he looked at me like I was a stranger. I felt like I was disappearing in the space between us, like I was losing myself in the mess we'd made. That suitcase in my hand was more than just my things. It was my last chance to hold on to who I was before all of this. I didn't say anything else. I just turned and walked away. My footsteps echoed down the hallway, each one feeling heavier than the last. I heard the door behind me close softly, but it sounded like a final slam in my chest. The quiet after that was worse than any argument. It was the kind of silence that screams. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see him standing there, defeated and lost. I didn't want to see the look that said he knew he'd ruined it, but wasn't sure if he even wanted to fix it. I wanted to believe that walking away was the only way out. That leaving meant I was choosing myself instead of the pain. But as I closed the door behind me, a small part of me wondered if it was really over. The silence that followed said otherwise. It's been 3 weeks since I left our home. I'm staying at my friend's place now. The apartment is small and quiet, nothing like what I'm used to. But it's enough to keep me afloat. Every morning, I wake up and remind myself that I'm filing for divorce. I never thought I'd say those words out loud, but there it is. I'm doing it. I don't have much contact with Jamie or Sam anymore. I blocked their numbers. I don't want to see their messages popping up, pretending like nothing happened. The silence is hard, but it's better than the lies. I found out that they kept living their lives without me, like I was just a bad page they tore out of their book. It hurts more than I expected, not because I didn't see it coming, but because I thought it would be different. I thought we would fix this, or at least face it together. Cutting ties with the people who betrayed me wasn't easy. Some were friends I trusted for years, but they chose sides or stayed silent. That felt like a second stab. I told myself I'm better off without that kind of loyalty. So I made the calls, sent the messages, and stayed firm even when my voice shook. It's strange how people disappear when you start standing up for yourself. Most days, I'm trying to focus on the paperwork for the divorce. It's a slow process, but it's progress. Filling out forms, talking to lawyers, and going through everything we shared. It's like unpacking a box full of memories I don't want anymore. Sometimes I catch myself wishing I could rewind time and make a different choice. But the truth is, I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of waiting for an apology that probably won't come. I still have moments where the silence feels heavy. Nights when I lie awake, wondering if I'm doing the right thing. But then I remind myself that staying in that mess would only hurt me more. I deserve to be in a space where I'm not doubting my own worth, where I'm not constantly questioning who I am because of someone else's mistakes. It's ironic, really. The people who were supposed to be my closest allies became strangers overnight. And yet, here I am, still standing. Not because I'm strong all the time, but because I've learned that sometimes strength means walking away, leaving behind what no longer serves you, even if it breaks your heart. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if Jamie or Sam will ever reach out, or if they even feel any regret. At this point, I don't think I want to know. I'm trying to build something new for myself, piece by piece. It's messy and slow, but it's mine. I thought this chapter would close quietly, but the quiet now feels like a warning, not an end. I'm officially separated now. I moved into a small apartment downtown, and it's quiet. Too quiet sometimes. Jamie is still with Sam, or at least that's what I hear from people around. I don't ask much anymore. It hurts less that way. I've spent a lot of time thinking about trust. What it means, how fragile it is. I never thought I'd be the one betrayed like that. It felt like the ground just gave way under me. Every day is a kind of battle. Some mornings, I wake up and the weight feels unbearable, but I'm learning to carry it differently. I'm slowly putting myself back together, piece by piece. The hurt is still there, but it's less sharp now. I've realized that this betrayal wasn't just about what Jamie did. It was about how I let myself be treated. That's the hardest part to accept. Still, I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm starting to respect myself again, setting boundaries I never had before. I'm not looking back, not really. The past is a part of me, but it doesn't define me. I'm trying to hold on to that. To the idea that resilience isn't about being unbreakable, but about finding a way to stand up after falling. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. Trust is something I never thought I'd question so deeply. But after everything, I've learned that once it breaks, fixing it isn't simple. If you ever feel like something's not right, don't push those feelings aside. I ignored the small signs for too long, hoping things would just be okay. They weren't. It's painful to face betrayal. It shakes you in ways you didn't expect, but it also teaches you. It makes you realize what you really value and what you won't accept anymore. I had to learn to listen to myself again, to respect my own feelings even when it felt easier not to. Walking away wasn't easy. I thought I could fix things, or that maybe I was overreacting. But sometimes the best way to find peace is to let go of what's harming you. You deserve that peace. You deserve honesty, even if it starts with being honest with yourself. If you're in a place where you feel uneasy, don't settle. Trust your gut. It's okay to put yourself first and to step away from people or situations that hurt you. Healing starts there, with quiet decisions that no one else sees but you. So yeah, trust is fragile. But your sense of self? That's something you have to protect, no matter how hard it gets.